This is AC Lockyer, the professional business guide. I'm a third-generation service business entrepreneur, national champion professional fisherman, and serial entrepreneur. Each week, I'm going to invite some of my friends and other influencers in the business industry to talk about leadership, building sales teams, and other topics to help you win and find your true north.
Welcome tonight to AC Lockyer's Fireside Chat. I've got Daryl Amy here, and Daryl is the author of the book, The Revenue Growth Engine, and which is just really an intriguing title to me because I like revenue, I like growth, and man, if you can systemize it, automate it, and create an engine to make it happen, sign me up. That sounds wonderful. And I'm waiting for my free autographed copy of the book to come in the mail. And
it will.
But also, too, Daryl is also a fellow Wowzer. So Daryl has also a contributing author to The Wow Factor, a book that's near and dear to my heart. I served with Christian Grosso on the Wow Factor board of directors. Christian Grosso is the main author. He's the person who put together this project. And then just got a bunch of his crazy friends and people that he knows out in the world that are influencers to pick a word. And it's 52 words from 52 business influencers. It's actually 52 words from 51 business influencers. Because I don't know if you know this or not, Daryl. I bring it up every week.
Are you the one?
I am the one that got 2 words. So I'm extra special, but no. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about Daryl's business and some of the things he has to offer, his insights that he has, his unique perspective and talents to bring to you guys, not only just because of business, but also too for the fact that we're in some really incredible times right now with this COVID-19. We've all just gone through, some of us more, some of us less, but basically the entire month of April was just, I wouldn't call it lockdown. It's not really lockdown. I don't know why people use the word lockdown. Sheltering in place, the distancing, the social distancing, the not going to work every day to your physical location. It's been a change for us. It's like a lost month. And now we're starting to come out of that a little bit. Restrictions are being loosened, and things are going to change here rapidly. Some businesses will survive this, some businesses will not. And we just want to make sure that we bring you guys timely information that you can use each week when you tune in here to be able to not only grow in regular business times, but when a who moved your cheese moment happens like this, bam. You can make those adjustments you need to. So, Daryl, tell us about yourself and what you do, man.
Oh, man, thank you so much for having me on this conversation today. I'm really excited about it. I am a growth architect. I like to help things grow. And I love the way that you, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I like revenue for a number of reasons. And one of the biggest reasons I like revenue is that you're able to actually make an impact when you have revenue. So you're able to impact your employees, create company. You're also able to impact the world. And that actually encompasses my mission at Revenue Growth Engine, is to help great companies grow. Because when that happens, we create meaningful work. We actually help make the world a better place. And so all of that is what drives me every day. We help companies grow. I get to be involved in strategic discussions. And then behind that, my team helps everybody develop the systems and processes to actually make that revenue growth sustainable. And so, that's what I'm all about. I like anything involved in growth, and that happens at a business level. And as Stephen Covey says, private victory precedes public victory. So I believe that growth, I'm also passionate about seeing that happen at a personal level as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a great quote from Stephen Covey. I've forgotten that one. I haven't heard that in years, because Stephen Covey was really big back in the 90s, And boy, that private growth precedes public growth is really such a thing. I mean, there's so many times I'm on the phone or on Zoom meetings with fledgling entrepreneurs or even older entrepreneurs that, have been around for a while but are struggling. And they want to know what the answer to all of their problems are. And I just smile and I say, it's you. You need to invest in yourself way more than equipment, way more than advertising, way more than any of the other things that you think that you're going to be able to pull your butt out of the fire with this problem. It's all about you. And when you are that leader that you need to be, all of the obstacles just seem to just fall away because your people want to follow you and make you happy and do things to support your dreams and in your business to where they just line up to knock down the obstacles for you. And, so that's a big deal thing. So, so what is the name of your company that does that?
Yeah. So I'm like you, I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur. So Revenue Growth Engine is the company that's launching the book, which officially comes out next month on June 9th. I'm so excited about it. And yes, AC, you will be one of the first people to have a signed autographed copy for sure. I definitely appreciate that.
Well, I like being able to hold them up during the things. And
you and me both. I can't wait to put my hands on it. And what's been interesting is, and so just before we get into that, I'm also involved in a growth strategy agency that works with B2B companies primarily. And so that company is called Convergo. And then the other thing that I get to do, which is so much fun, is I'm a partner on a podcast and also in a company called Selling from the Heart. And we are bringing authenticity to the sales profession. And so what is so fun about that is every week I get to talk with amazing thought leaders in the sales space and get to be really a front row seat and really, I guess more than that, a driver in the world of sales and building something that I think is really critical right now in this world, especially when revenue is going to be hard to come by. It's going to take a little more strategy, a little more work, is building trust, authenticity, and all of that. So that encompasses my world. When I'm not doing that, I'm involved in several nonprofits. And so probably a lot like you, AC, I thrive on just being involved in a lot of dynamic organizations, and I just absolutely love what I get to do every day.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to say no, and I've had to learn to say no to things, and just really adjust what I do in my life. And like you, I like to watch things grow. I own several businesses, and I've learned my place in my businesses over the years. And what my responsibility is. You read Gino's book Traction, and I'm the chief vision officer in my company. So I'm the crazy guy that runs around dreaming and comes up with all the ideas and then throws them at the feet of my people and says, "Make them happen." But that's what I'm good at, and and I'm good at content creation and education and stuff like that. But what I really love to do is I love to just get involved in people's lives and help them grow personally and grow their businesses. But this word grow, Daryl, this word grow, I think is a tainted, perverted, and sometimes overutilized word. Why don't you tell us what you think growth is, what it should be, and how to create that sustainable growth? And I realize that's a book in of itself, but in the next 10 minutes, teach us the ways of life here when it comes to growth.
So you were asking about growth, and I think a good descriptor to the word growth is healthy growth when it comes to your business in particular. And so I had several epiphany moments. One of the moments was I would go into businesses, and one of the things that I get to do, I primarily, as I mentioned earlier, work with businesses in the B2B space. So a lot of my clients sell to businesses. And so we go in and to do revenue growth workshops. And it just reminds me of being in Miami a couple months back before the quarantine. And we've got the owner of the company, the general manager, the sales leader, the marketing leader. We're all sitting in their conference room, and I'm getting ready to kick off this big workshop, and everyone's excited. And I said, okay, as we begin, let's talk about your goals. What are your goals? And and they said, we want to grow by 10% year over year, net new customers, 10%. So I said, fantastic. I write on the board, 10%. And then I said,
at least it's a starting point, right?
No, it's good. We got to start somewhere. And we'll get into this, but I think when it comes to growth goals, most companies use one of two methods. One is the spaghetti method, where we take the spaghetti and throw it on the wall. And a lot of our clients, by the way, are EOS Traction users. I'm a huge advocate of Traction. And so, but when you look at a VTO, right here, that's always by my side. When you look at a VTO, that 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year goal, I mean, a lot of companies, that's just, it just happens in a meeting. There's no analysis behind it or thought or formula. So so I write on the board 10%, great.
Yeah.
And I said,
it's
what
not
did
real till you write it on the wall,
That's right. So we got it on the board.
Yeah.
And I said, what did you do last year in net new business growth? They said 9.6%. And I looked at them and I said, what am I doing here? Good job. Just do a little bit more and you're good to go.
Yeah.
However, and this is where things get exciting, because I don't like just linear growth. I like exponential growth. Multiplication is better than adding to me.
Yeah.
So 10% year over year is great. But what happens inside most businesses is there's two core sources of revenue. One is getting new customers, but the other is also selling more to your current customers. So this particular business had a business line that they used to get most of their new customers, but they also had a massive offering they were rolling out. And so that was a great fit for most of their customers and a huge source of recurring revenue, which is my favorite kind. And so I said, now 10%, you did 9.6. Tell me about cross-selling to your existing clients. How's that going?
Right.
And now everybody, eyes roll, everyone leans back in their chair, right? And starts groaning. Now, the funny thing was when they
their biggest asset.
Right.
Their number one biggest asset, easiest way to grow their company.
Customers. Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What, you're going to remarket to our existing customers?
Well, so here was a realization, and I've seen this happen over and over again, is when companies think of growth, they usually think of adding new customers. And I'm all for that, especially the 20X clients, which I'll talk about in a minute.
That's one slice of the pie, one way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's where the math gets really cool. And this company, by the way, had brought us in to get more new customers. But when they realized if we go 10% year over year growth in net new customers, and then also go 10% year over year growth in our revenue per customer, which is very simple math. How much revenue did you did? How many customers do you have?
Yeah,
your
which is
revenue per
adding
customer.
more goods or services, raising your prices, increasing frequency. I mean, there's 6 or 7 things right there that you can take your pre-existing customers and grow your business without having to advertise at all.
So the math and it gets real when you put it on the board. It gets very real when you put it in a spreadsheet. And so we took 10% year over year net new and 10% year over year cross sell revenue per client. And you take that out in just over 3 years, you've doubled your revenue.
Yeah.
If you can do 15% in each one of those areas, you'll double your revenue in 3 years. Yeah, it's astounding. And so the lights come on, and now everyone is aligned around saying, how do we put the systems and processes in place to both drive net new and cross sell?
So I'll give you an example of one of my businesses, Softwash Systems. So Softwash Systems, right now, total revenues, if COVID-19 had not happened, we would have hit around $4 million this year. So if there's 2 different factors I look at. Is I do look at new customer acquisition, but and because I have a church background, this is something that I really focus on. Is you can go out there and you can preach the gospel, you can do great advertising campaigns, great outreach campaigns, get new people in the front door. But what usually happens? You have a back door, and it's called attrition.
Yes.
So what a lot of people don't think about is plugging that attrition hole too. So the only way you're going to grow is if you got 10% new customer growth every year, but you got 10% attrition, you're not growing every year. So you've got to plug up the attrition hole, where your customers either have a bad experience or something happens to where they just float away to a competitor, or they even go out of business, or they just don't need you anymore. And you have an attrition that goes out the back door. And some of that's healthy. You have to leach sales. But you worry about so much coming in the front door, but if you're losing them out the back door, that's another thing. So my business, I try to keep my attrition rate down to 5%. Okay, and I know 2.5% to 3% are just naturally people that are going to go out of business or outgrow our organization. There's a very natural offletting of cells. But I try to, between new customers and better revenue generating things like new products, new services, looking at continuously at my profit margins, stuff like that, grow my company by 15% per year. If I grow 15% per year and plug my attrition rate to 5% or less, in 10 years, in a decade, I will have an excess, I think it's around a $23 million a year business. And that's not doubling years. I went through the years. It's pretty easy to go from 200,000 to 400, and 400 to 8, and 8 to 1.6 million, and 1.6 million to 3.2. But after about 3.2, it starts to get hard to double every year. And that's just not sustainable. But like you said, 15% growth in 3 years doubles your business, which a lot of people don't realize that. It's the rule of 77 cut in half.
That's right. And I think a lot of times, and this is good, when you think about revenue, a lot of these revenue numbers are pie in the sky, right? We're just throwing things out there. There's the spaghetti method of revenue goals. Throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
We call throwing the crap against the wall and see if
there you go. Well, I'll just be kind of call it spaghetti. But then there's the other way, which is the ruler method, right? So you get your ruler out and you go, okay, we did this much and we forecast going forward.
Yeah.
There's a problem with the ruler method right now because it looks like this, right? the ruler's pointing in the wrong direction. So, and this is, you called this moving the cheese. I'm like, has anyone found the cheese yet? Because someone hit it. It's like we've been in the Twilight Zone. AC, when I met you, it was the week before Disney shut down, and I came home. And I've been, I came home after being at Disney, and my wife put me in the spare bedroom, and I got a lot of work done for a couple of weeks. But
you were banished. You were quarantined.
I was. It was surreal, but and I got a lot done, which, by the way, productivity hack. Every quarter I'm going to quarantine for a week because I got a lot done. But so right now the revenue is dropping, and this is, the cheese definitely moved, and we're in an era of a lot of unpredictability right now in terms of what are we walking back into? What's going to happen? We had where I live. I'm a Canadian that married a Southern girl, so I moved from near Toronto, Ontario, and I now live in the foothills.
Say, "Hey, y'all."
I do, just like all my friends who live in Florida, right? So I can do the rest of the podcast in my Canadian accent if I need to. But, and by the way, little point of little fun note: my editor for Revenue Growth Engine is Canadian, and as a congratulations, when I finished the manuscript, she sent me probably the most meaningful gift that anyone could ever send me, which was a bottle of fresh maple syrup. So I was
going to say that as a joke. I was going to say, what, maple syrup?
Exactly. And so there are maple syrup analogies in the book as well, which is just betrays my Canadian roots. But last night we had a storm. My wife and I were sitting. So my survival technique, I live on the edge of the Ozark Mountains. My survival technique has been to have a fire every night, which is kind of funny that we're having a fire right now. And so I'll set a fire pit in the backyard and sit by the fire. And, this is my coping mechanism. And last night at 9:45, I'm sitting by the fire and tornado sirens go off. So this is not good, right? If you live in the South. And so we have a new home we moved into last year, and actually has a safe room. So we made our first journey into the safe room. And as I'm telling this story, this is kind of the analogy of what's been going on in the whole country and world. I mean, so we're sitting in the safe room, the door is locked, the 70-mile-an-hour winds come in, and I hear, I can hear even through the door, the garage is getting pelted with stuff and hail and all this stuff. And, and what happens is finally the storm blows over. Thanks to the internet, we're watching, the weather on our phones in the storm shelter. And it's exactly like, or is there going to be a house here?
Is there a hook in the radar right over my house?
Yes. Life in the South. So, but then, after that was over, then what I did, what all of us would do, is I went outside with the flashlight shining around and going, what
just happened?
What just happened, right? And you got to make an analysis of the situation. And fortunately, it wasn't that bad. So, there wasn't a tornado. I didn't have any huge trees blow down in my yard. It's a bit of a mess, but I think that's kind of an analogy of where we are in business right now. Before I jumped on this call, I was watching the governor of our state roll out the plans for reentry and what that's going to look like. And, and I've been on several calls. At one of the things that I get to do, I didn't mention earlier, I'm part of the C-Suite Advisors Council. So it's a team of people that get to talk to some pretty cool people. And, we're listening to some experts, and I don't want to be a prophet of doom at all on this podcast, but I think we have to be sober and realize, what we're walking back into. And I think everyone is pretty sober about that if you own a business. So we've got a job right now, and I believe this is a really important job. And that job is to develop strategies to recover and grow revenue. And I get a little emotional about this when I talk about it. But if you think about where we are right now, and we have had an incredible storm, if you had told me when we were having dinner at the Polynesian that we'd spend the next 6 weeks living out of our house and business would all be but shut down, I would have laughed, right? We didn't have a category for that. And yet here we are, right? And now here we are with the governor saying you can maybe go to a restaurant and you're going to wear, like I'm going to eat with the thing over my mouth and all that. It's like just stuff we're walking into this world that we don't know. But here's the deal: as business leaders, I believe we have a really important obligation now to look and develop strategies for growth, because our employees depend on it, our communities depend on it, and I really believe even our very country, like our economy, depends on people like you and me and everyone on this call putting our thinking caps on and going, where is the cheese and how do I get there? I mean, this is, there is no playbook for this right now.
Well, and our economy is a revenue engine.
Yes.
And we all are cogs in that revenue engine. Even the smallest of businesses are independent with other small and large businesses all moving that machine forward.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, it's when you talk about it's our duty as small business owners, as entrepreneurs, to come up with a plan, with a sustainable plan to generate revenues so that we can pay our employees, so they can go and they can eat at restaurants and buy groceries and put gas in their car, and contribute to the economy. Putting all of us entrepreneurs on the sideline was a horrible thing to do. Maybe needed, maybe not as needed. I think we could have been a little more creative than just laying everybody off. But nonetheless, that's what we went through. So now we got to take these MVPs, these most valuable players, these entrepreneurs, these people that have great ideas and strategies and everything, and get them back on the playing field to start this machine moving and generating revenues again. So what do you think, what would be like 3 strategies that come to the top of your mind, 3 strategies that you think entrepreneurs on this call right now could put to work now that May 1st is coming and things are starting to reopen and all? How can we as entrepreneurs help restart the revenue growth engine called the economy? What would be those 3 strategies?
Yeah, so we've started talking about the first one, which is goals. And I have a term I call ABR goals, aggressive but realistic goals.
Yeah.
And I think you can get to those goals if you can start with the 2 drivers of revenue that we've talked about: number of customers and revenue per customer. And then you can start to say, okay, realistically, well, first of all, like walking out of the storm cellar, right? How many customers do I have right now? Get a grip on that. And then say, realistically, how do we think we can grow that? And then revenue per customer, same thing. What's my revenue divided by that number of customers? Realistically, how do I think I can grow that? From there, you can set aggressive but realistic goals. They're realistic because you're looking for modest improvements in those 2 areas. They're aggressive because when you add them all up and you see that exponential growth, you might be a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
You do. And we've got to do that. And, you know, let's just be honest, the last little while in business has been really easy. I mean, the economy's been on fire, businesses, money's
just been throwing money at you. Yeah.
And I like that. But that's not where we are now. So we've got to get strategic. And so here's the second point. After we set realistic goals, the second point is that not all customers are created equal. And this is very important to realize right now. If you want to be able to drive exponential revenue growth, you need the types of customers that have the potential to buy more stuff from you. It's a simple way to say that. Going back, I'm thinking of that business in South Florida again. And this was a B2B sales team. They had 10 salespeople. And in the Miami-Dade area and up to Palm Beach, West Palm and beyond, there's about 90,000 businesses. So when sales reps, you send a sales team out to go make some sales calls. Well, there's no way you could cover that entire market with 10
where do you even
salespeople.
start?
Yeah. But what we begin to realize, and I think this is a valuable exercise for everybody to do right now, is to think about, and this is a great homework from this call. Get a blank piece of paper out. Think about your top 3 customers that you like working with the most, that are the best customers for your business, and just start jotting down what you like about them and start to notice what they have in common. And what you're going to begin doing is putting together your ideal customer profile. And when that happens, now we take, in the case of that 90,000 businesses, with that particular client, we focused it all the way down to just over 2,000 businesses that really fit they were a great fit.
And they were a great customer's avatar. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so the reason that's important, AC, is because not only is that a great source of revenue, that type of customer has the potential to be much more loyal to you. So when you think of the customers that are a great fit, your top 3 type customers, those are the customers that are a lot more loyal overall. It's a blanket statement, but I think we can all agree.
Oh, sure.
They're if they are the A-list customers, the B-list customers are the ones that, you got to do a lot of work to get. Right. They probably complain the most. They don't have a lot of grace for you. They don't really recognize your value, and they'll jump ship at the next lowest price.
Yeah. They're price oriented. Yeah.
So good growth, you go back to earlier, what is good growth? Healthy growth is bringing on more of your ideal clients. And when we're able to do that, you've got cross-sell potential, you've got loyalty, you've got referrals. And so I think right now, one of the most important things a business can do is begin to identify what that ideal client looks like. And then this is the third thing, is what systems are in place. Boil a business down to its most basic level. And I think you'll agree with this. You have people and you have processes. So, or for my Canadian friends, you have processes, right? Processes, so,
yes. That you eat with your poutine.
Oh, yes, we do. Absolutely. With maple syrup on top. So here's the deal. If you look at most businesses, you'll find processes in the finance department, hopefully, then you really got problems. You'll find processes in the HR department. You'll find processes in shipping and receiving. Right. But walk into a sales department and you walk into the Wild West, right? When it comes to processes.
Right.
The sales manager goes, hey, folks, go make some calls, right?
Club it and drag it in.
That's right. Just bring them in. I don't care as long as you hit the quota, just bring it in. And there's no process. And as a result, most sales teams have the old Pareto principle working. 20% of the reps bring in 80% of the deals. The rest of them turn over. No one knows what's going on. And then the same thing is true in marketing. And in my career, I spent the first dozen years in sales, and the last 17 years, I've had a marketing agency and also done sales training. So I've got the marketing. I'll call the marketing people out as well, right? Marketing's like, well, let's run a campaign, right? Host an event, but where's the process? So once we begin, and this is the back part of the revenue growth engine. These are in essence kind of the cylinders of the engine. Is saying, okay, what are the core processes that need to be in place from a sales and marketing perspective to drive net new revenue? What are the sales and marketing processes that need to be in place to cross-sell more to our current clients and keep or retain them? And so in the spirit of traction, and when you said Gino Wickman's name at the beginning of this, you warmed my heart as much as the campfire that's blazing behind you.
I don't have it sitting right here on my desk, or do I? Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go.
There you go. Of course, everyone's got traction. Mine's over on the conference table over there. But I do. Yeah, I've got my VTO right here, people. But the this is the heavy lifting part of traction that we've got to get into our sales and marketing, our revenue, right? Traction. There's sales and marketing, there's operations, and there's finance. Lots of processes in operations, lots of processes in finance. We need to look at our sales side and really think about process. So I just started a new podcast myself called the Revenue Growth Podcast. And so we've had some phenomenal guests. I had Donald Miller's podcast co-host and co-author on the podcast, which I was so excited about.
That's huge. That's a big name to have on for sure.
Oh, and it's second episode. Fun.
Where do you go from there? Donald Miller. I mean, come on.
Oh no,
story brand.
I got Challenger Sale, Matt Dixon coming on next week. So it's been great. we get to talk to these incredible people. But one of the guys I talked to this week, in fact, we just released the episode yesterday, is an Ohio State University professor, which was hard for me because I'm a Michigan fan, but we looked over it. So we had an Ohio State, even after we've got the blue shirt on here. I talked to an Ohio State professor who's a former officer in the U.S. Army, who's an internationally renowned process expert. So you go, I know most of the sales and marketing and entrepreneurs listening to the podcast go, why did Daryl bring Donald Miller's right-hand guy on the podcast and then bring up process professor? Because we need that.
Yes, you need that.
We need that.
If you're going to systemize, if you're going to get a repeatable, replicatable, systemized result, you have to have processes. And people don't realize that in sales, you've got to create a machine that you put this much energy in this side, it expends that energy and then produces revenues out the other side. And if you don't have that, that dependable, replicatable sales engine that's going to feed your company cash flow every day.
Yep.
You haven't built anything. You've just created a beast that you have to flog every day to move forward.
That well said. Well said. And this is the heart of the revenue growth engine.
Yeah.
Is to say we need to build an engine. And if there's ever been a time where we need some high horsepower engines, we need those right now to pull us out of the ditch that we're in right now. And so I'm passionate about that. I really I believe this is a time for businesses like right now to be strategic. Now to sit down and really go, what are we going to do? Like, that I'm all for the empathy and I'm all for the, sensitivity. And there's some people we got to be hyper empathetic. I think we know that. But at the same time, as business leaders, we've got to drive and thrive. We've got to, keep the foot on the gas. But I think we also have to pause and think, it's not just driving forward the same way we were yesterday. It's thinking strategically about what's it going to look like going forward. It's
not a foreign thought to people. So I when I'm coaching entrepreneurs, I tell them, listen, you get in the car. Let's say I'm driving from, I do this all the time. I'm driving from Florida to Texas. I'm going to Dallas, Texas. I know that if I want to get to Dallas, Texas by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, I start at my GPS and it tells me I'm going to get there by 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. And I go, I don't want to get there by 9 o'clock. I want to get there by 6 o'clock. So you start running the math. Okay, for me to get to Dallas, Texas in 18 hours, I'm going to have to go X amount of, miles per hour. I'm going to have to limit my stops. When we stop to get gas, I'm going to have to look at my wife and the rest of my family and say, hey, I want to fill up this gas tank in 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes to go tinkle and be back in this car. I
like the way you think.
And you hit the road, you set the cruise control, you do as minimal stops as possible because you've run the math. For you to get to Dallas, Texas by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, you are going to have to hit X amount of miles per hour and limit your number of stops. You can't stop and have dinner at Cracker Barrel. It's going to be drive-throughs. And you make that commitment because you know where you want to get by such and such a time. But we check that same logic when it comes to our business. We get real ambiguous, really caught up in the motion of the ocean, let all these external factors influence our business. But dang, you put us behind the wheel of a car and give us a cruise control and a GPS, we'll be in Dallas by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, come hell or high water. How do people separate that? I don't understand it.
Well, I think it's hard. It's easy to use the old ruler method, right? To go, that's what happened in the past, so forecast it into the future.
Right.
Can't do that right now. No. And, I think that as a lot of business owners, and I'm the visionary in my company, and I have a great implementer, and I'm forever grateful to Mark Winters, Gino Chapman for teaching us that. It's so valuable, right? So a lot of people, though, I think really struggle to see past 1 year. And so I'll give you an example. Another example is actually another Florida company I was working with. It's a cybersecurity company, great company, traction company, all of that. 1 year goals, very realistic, probably too conservative. 10-year goal, a 3-year goal, wildly unattainable, fantasy goal, right? And then the 10-year goal was so low compared to their actual potential as a company.
Right.
And so, but we see this
trajectory.
Yeah. And so when we run the math and we look at the, average, you take that ideal client and here's what's fun. This is as a visionary where I start to have fun with math. Visionaries having fun with math is you go, okay, that ideal client. And if they bought everything that our company sold, I call it 100% sold.
Right.
What would the revenue be for them over the next 10 years?
Right.
And it's beautiful. And I see this all the time. It's usually 20x over the average client. And so now I go, okay, I can forecast that out. Now I can go, okay, just like you said, how many miles per hour and how many minutes per stop do I need to have? And I love the way you think, because that's how I think when I drive. and bless my wife's heart, I can say the same,
No, bless
same
your
thing.
wife's bladder.
Yes. Oh my, yeah, my newest car's got 560 miles for tank. That thing just flies. But I digress. So once you know that 10-year number on an ideal client, you divide it by 10, which is easy math for even the best visionary. You'd move the decimal over one. And next thing you know how much those ideal clients are worth per year. And then you can do some simple math and go, here's how many ideal clients I need to get to where I'm going.
Right.
And it's a little different for every business, but I think it's that, that level of thought where we set these realistic goals. And, like all of us, we're going to have to come out of the bunker. We're going to have to survey the damage, swallow hard and go, okay, here's where we are today. Reality is a good thing. Let's be, and then let's chart the path forward based on what we know. And I'm going to advise, this is kind of for many businesses. And I know we didn't know, I hope no one in this call lost all their clients,
Sure.
But I know we've all taken a hit, and some of our clients may not be in business or, may not have the budget to invest in whatever we sell. So I think it's really important that we have a reality check of where we are right now. And we also adopt kind of like a rebuilding mentality, like if the tornado or the hurricane blows through, now we go outside and we go, okay, it's time to rebuild. But what's cool about the rebuilding opportunity is we have the opportunity to rebuild right. Mm-hmm. And if you do that with good goals, ideal clients in mind in your rebuilding strategy, and putting systems in place, it's going to be like my son-in-law's parents. I mean, it was so sad. They had a house. They were in Mexico Beach, Florida, when that hurricane hit land.
Yeah, ground zero.
They were one of the last properties to be built. So they were built to hurricane standards. So it was very easy to see their house, because when CNN flew over with a helicopter, everything was leveled and their house was standing. And, right now we have the opportunity to rebuild our business in terms of a way that maybe, to use a great Florida analogy, is hurricane proof.
Right. Yeah. Storm proof. Yeah.
Right. And that's, great clients, good processes in place. And, and I think that's what's going to set that up. Yeah. And Mike's book came out yesterday, by the way.
Yes, I know.
I'm going to one up you, right? I just got my copy.
Fish this next. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to go deeper in that whole concept of ideal clients, Mike wrote a book that it wasn't on my radar until I actually got to meet him at a conference earlier this year.
Yeah.
And where we both were presenting. It was kind of cool to be involved with Mike Michalowicz. Mike, he wrote a book called The Pumpkin Plan. Have you seen this book?
Yeah.
It's so good, right?
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's like the picture of where you want to go. And Mike, Mike agrees, not all clients are created equal. Let's go after the good ones that are going to really have the potential. And that takes some strategy, right?
And when you're stormproofing your business, the great thing I like about Mike is it's kind of like the Dave Ramsey envelope plan for business.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to be a profitable business, and it's a decision, I just decide to be a profitable business today, and you put those reserves aside. The conversation we've been having a lot is how much should you put aside? One of my friends, Brandon Vaughn, he's doing a digital conference for service businesses, and he's got, Mike's going to be on it. He's got,
awesome.
Michael Gerber is going to be on it.
Oh,
and
man.
So he posted, hey, I'm getting ready to spend some time with Mike Michalowicz. And what would be a question you'd ask him? And I said, hey, if I was to create a basket called rainy day plan or storm plan, what % of every dollar should that be? And then how much should I put away before I stop? So Dave Ramsey says have 6 months of living expenses in the bank. Is that 3 months for business, 6 months for business? How much should I put away? And that's a part of storm-proofing your business. And in a million years, we would have never thought that this could have happened. But now, if we don't plan for it, we're just fools, because we know it can happen now. And if they've pulled this card out now once, you know this now has even more of a chance of happening in the future, because if they've done it once, it now becomes something they can do. But let's talk about your word, Mr. Wowzer brother. You're one of the Wowzers. Okay. Your word on the wow factor, and you're on page 105.
105, yeah.
Yeah. And you got a Simon Sinek quote up at the top of yours.
Yes.
You're pretty cool there. But talk about impact. Why that word? Why does it sing to you? You know, the wow factor is about redefining common words and getting people to rethink it. So tell me what your thing is on impact.
Well, so I have values, personal values. And since I'm a marketing guy, they all start with the same letter, which happens to be I. Oh. And so it's just an alliteration illness.
You're not an I on the DISC assessment, are you?
No, but I am a bit of an introvert. So I know you might not expect that. But the so my favorite word, though, is impact. And, you know, I want my life to have an impact. And at the beginning of the chapter, I was reflecting on my dad's funeral and an opportunity to speak at my dad's funeral. And, you know, it was those moments are moments where you know, those are clarifying moments in life. When I'm standing behind the podium and looking out over a crowd of people that have showed up to honor my dad, and you begin to realize, you know, the importance of impact. And, you know, and you can have a positive impact or you can have a negative impact. And I see that as well. The other thing I'm really passionate about is I lead a team of guys that called the Man Alive Expedition. So we help men recover their hearts. And so we see, I mean, I get front row seat to the devastating impact that, you know, happens in people's lives. So whether that, so I always, I want to be somebody that, you know, has an impact. I hope my funeral isn't soon, but when that does happen, I hope that I have a son that can look out over the crowd and smile and see, you know, a dad that had impact. So that word's always been really important to me. And I think that Simon said, genius is the idea, impact comes from action. And I think, you know, on the strengths test, I'm big in strategy, I'm big in learning, I'm big in, but the most important strength is activation, which is taking ideas and turning them into action. And so I have to constantly remind myself of that.
That's a good one to have.
Yeah, I can live though. I can live in the world of theory and ideas, but if that doesn't get turned into action every day, I'm in big trouble, right? There's no impact. So I'm constantly reminding myself of that. And so when Chris asked me, what word do you want to write on? I immediately said impact, and Chris said I was going to write on that one. I said, well, do you want me in your book? So, otherwise, AC is going to have to write 3 chapters.
I'm going to have to do 3 chapters, yes.
But yeah, so that's where all that came from. It's just it's a really important word to me because I think it describes. I want my life to have impact, and you know that takes some intentionality.
For sure, yeah. I mean, you know, for me, when I think of impact, is yes, you know. Zig Ziglar said, you know, what are you going to leave an AC-sized dent in the earth? You know, and are you going to have that influence over other people? Are you going to, you know, are you going to be known that you were just in it for the money, or are you going to be known that you were really changing people's lives? I mean. Honestly, I have found it in life that money is very easy to make and it's very fluid, and I don't see why people struggle with it, honestly. I'm a 3rd-generation service business entrepreneur, so I guess it comes naturally. But people are hard, and relationships are messy, and caring enough about people that you get involved in their lives deep enough that you start doing life with them isn't easy. But something I say, a quote of mine is, nothing admirable is ever easily accomplished. And, but yeah, having an impact, you got to decide what that impact's going to be, because there can be a negative impact. You know, you can have scarred your children for life and done things to them. You could have led people astray. You could have, you know, there's a lot of things. You could be an addict and leave a wake of destruction behind you in relationships and family, and touch people in a negative way. You have to make a decision that leave that positive, lasting legacy, is what the Ziglar organization calls it. I mean, I'm Ziglar Legacy certified. And, you know, and that your word impact sings to me for sure. And knowing the difference between leaving that positive impact or a negative impact is important.
So one of the things I realized, AC, is I'm good at setting goals for businesses, like, you know, all of that, business plans, strategy, you know, all of that. I love that. But I realized I didn't have that for my own life. So several years ago, and I don't know when this started related to the Wow Factor book, but several years ago, I'm a marketing guy. So I put together a brochure for my life. So
That's cool.
I mean, it's essentially, and I put this together, and I put, you know, this is a working document. So it comes out of my printer, but I put my, I don't know, you can see my values on here.
Yeah, all your
what I want, and you know what, this has been, and then on the back of it is the different organizations I'm involved in. I'm kind of like you, involved in a lot of different things, business wise and nonprofit wise, and just on the back. So this touch point has been so helpful to me to, I think as an entrepreneur, one of two things can happen. I can just get so absorbed in a project and just like narrow focus, or there are other moments where I'm just all over the place, right? There's so many different things going on, and you just don't even know what to do next and what to focus on. And when I come back to this in my, my weekly plan is where I pull this out the most, is that Saturday morning time, when I sit down and review the previous week and get ready to plan out my time for the next week. I look, I believe Bill Hybels said the most important document in your life is your calendar. I mean, it's the most important document in your life, other than the Bible, as your calendar. And so when I look at how I'm going to invest my time and energy and money, I want to invest around the things that are in this brochure. This is my vision for my life. And, and all of that, I think having clarity on that puts me in places where I'm able to consistently drive impact. And, it takes a lot of intentional focus to do that. But I've seen other people do it. I've seen other mentors pull that off. I see that in you, and a lot of the other people on the Wow Factor team that I've gotten to meet. And I love being a part of a community of people that are intentionally saying, I want to have an impact. And so it's exciting.
Yeah. And you're talking about sitting or standing at the podium at your dad's funeral and delivering a message to people that were there to honor him. You hope one day that your son can do that same thing. Wouldn't it be great if it was as easy as him just picking up that brochure
right,
and being able to read it out to everybody and say, this is how it happened. This is how it rolled out. This was the meaning that Daryl brought to his life and the people that he touched around him. And it played out pretty much like he planned it. That's always we always have the fantasy of, if we died, who would be at our funeral? How big would the crowd be? If you could listen to all the good things people said about you, you know, you know, so that's your way to do it. And when Bill Hybel talks about that most important document being your calendar, we all get to write our history.
We do.
We all get to write our history and pre-plan it in our calendar. And that will be the record of, if you want to go back and know what you were doing 3 years ago on such and such a date, it's your calendar. When did you make that decision? When did you come up with that idea? When did you have that important meeting? When was the first time you met somebody? When was that seminar that you did? All of those things, and then you start to see your time as being very finite, and that you only have, you know, really 40 hours a week. Some of us work 50, 60, 70 hours, but you only have what you have. And when you start to use a calendar, you stop overcommitting yourself. And you know, for me, I use Calendly. And when I sometimes give people my Calendly and they're supposed to go on there and pick an appointment, they'll text me back and say, AC, you don't have another appointment for 5 weeks. And I'll go, I know, that's my next appointment. I had a meeting with a guy this morning that it was 5 weeks ago when he scheduled the appointment, and we had it this morning. He said, I don't even remember what we were going to talk about. He said, but it'll be great to spend an hour with you.
I wasn't going to reschedule this appointment.
Yep. And unfortunately, my calendar is a lot more open right now because of COVID-19. But you know, that's the kind of thing you have to do. And I'm horrible. I mean, I tell people to do it all the time. I get it probably 75 to 80% right in my own life, but that's 75 to 80% further along than I was 5 years ago. And we're all a work in process. One question: with fear, money, holding, and stress, what would you consider the best approach to working with today's customers in the field? Yeah, because they got fear, they're holding on to their money, and they've got all these stressors. How do we come in and look at customers and say, hey, I've got a service to provide, let me just take care of this for you. You're in a safe zone. How do you communicate that?
So the past 6 weeks have been fascinating to me. As I mentioned earlier, I co-host the Selling from the Heart podcast.
Yep.
I'm a partner in that business. It's called Selling from the Heart. And the basic premise is that we live in a low trust, I would even say post-trust era.
Right.
And that trust is essential for sales. And so things like authenticity and being genuine and caring and, you know, all of those things, even in the most technical of sales worlds, which is kind of where I come out of, those things are critical. So we've been banging this drum and, you know, on authenticity and all of this in the sales world. And there've been plenty of people that have come along. You know, we've got a great tribe of people, of sales professionals and business owners. But what's happened in the last 6 weeks has astounded me. Is companies, I'm talking about big companies, are coming out of the woodwork, calling us and saying, we need you to come work with our team. I had a call this morning with a company that they have thousands and thousands of sales reps globally. And so they said, we need some training. So I put on my corporate training hat and I started asking them about, okay, we'll start with an analysis, then we'll do a train the trainer program. And they said, no, we need this rolled out in the next 8 weeks.
Right.
And, you know, fortunately I wasn't on camera to my eyes go to, you know, we're going to train 8,000 reps in the next 8 weeks. What about authenticity?
Yes.
Authenticity. So, yes, there is fear. Yes, there is money holding. Yes, there's stress. But in the middle of all of that, you've got to begin with authenticity and genuinely caring about people. And, you know, that posture right now, it's always been important. I hope that if people learn that during this season, we carry that forward.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say, Gary, is it's really critical right now that we understand. So buyers don't buy products and services. Nobody in the history of your company, you know, whatever you sell, no one has ever bought a cleaning system. Nobody has ever bought a software, which is the world I come from. Nobody has ever bought pest control, right?
Right.
What they actually buy is the outcomes that product delivers. So right here in my desk drawer, I grew up, I'm a carpenter's son. So I have right here a 1/8-inch drill bit. And Theodore Levitt, the father of modern marketing, was a Harvard Business School guy, said, he made the analogy to his class. Nobody has ever gone to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or wherever to buy a drill bit. They went to buy a hole. So don't sell the drill bit, sell the hole. And actually, if you want to peel that back a little further, they actually bought a hole in the wall to hang the picture that their wife wanted hung, so that when their friends come over, you get where I'm going. So right now, I think it's really important to understand the outcomes that your clients are looking for. It's not, you can't just pick up it was easy before now. We went from easy to hard. Easy is everyone's got money. I think I'll get my building cleaned and, let's go for it. Now I've got to really understand the outcomes that person wants. So if I approach with empathy and understand and communicate around business outcomes, I'll add one more thing, AC, though. The business outcomes shifted. So what you sold 90 days ago and what you sell today, you may sell the exact same product or service, but what your clients are buying is a little bit different.
Right.
As their business changed and therefore their outcomes changed. So the way you approach that person who's fearful, money holding, and stress, is to really understand, well, why are they fearful? Why are they holding on to their money? And why are they stressed? People are spending money. They're spending money on things that solve problems, as evidenced by that, large company that talked to us this morning about training their sales team. We're not doing that for free. Right. They're spending money because they have a problem. The outcome they want is defined, but it shifted. And so, really, really dig in behind that fear, be empathetic. And I think what you'll find is the key to working with those types of customers.
And I had this conversation just earlier today, Gary, with another Softwash Systems guy. And I really think Softwash Systems people are going to rise to the top on this, because you guys have been so well trained in all these things. But they were talking about the fact that they had hired a salesperson to start out the spring, and the salesperson is having a hard time knocking on doors because people, just aren't receptive to going to the door and talking to somebody that they don't know. You could be a virus carrier or whatever people are thinking. But that knocking on doors or that tactic or that technique wasn't working. And I just told him, I said, that's baloney. It's baloney. Well, what do you mean? I said, yes. You could still go and do door-to-door sales. You may not be able to knock on doors and get people to come to the door. You might have to leave them a gift. You might have to come up with a little product that you could put. I told him, I said, come up with a mat that you can put your logo on that people set packages on top of and says place package here, that lifts them up off the concrete so they don't absorb morning dew or moisture up through them during the day, or come up with the top 10 takeout restaurants within a 1 mile radius of that neighborhood, and come up with a flyer that you stick to people's doors. And I said, you can't take no for an answer now. You've got to be more creative. You've got to draw. It's the big complaint I had about them just closing down the economy and closing down businesses and making people go home. I'm like, could we have gotten more creative than just giving up?
Right.
Okay. Could we have achieved the same result of bending the curve, of slowing the curve, of not so many people dying if we had been more creative? We've got to be a lot more creative, Gary, and trust is a big thing. Just being more visible out in the neighborhood, understanding the people are out walking more in the evenings. Maybe you should drive your truck around and do your rock flyering in the evening when people can see you driving your car. Somebody might flag you down and say, hey, give me an estimate. We've just got to be more creative. But Daryl, man, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I do want to give you 30 seconds here to go ahead and make the pitch for your company. Give us your contact information and your website and stuff like that.
Well, I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to leave you with my website, because I think there is where we're always putting resources. And so go to revenuegrowthengine.net. and you'll find all kinds of resources. If you want to get in touch with me, you can look me up on LinkedIn, Daryl Amy. There's not that many people with the last name Amy.
That's
and
right.
My email is D for Daryl, AMY at revenuegrowthengine.net as well. And man, AC, I just want to say a huge thank. This has been a blast. I've really enjoyed our conversation tonight. So thanks for having me on the Fireside Chat.
That's right. Thank you so much, Daryl. I really appreciate you and being a fellow Wowzer with us. It's a great thing.